The higher we climb in
What's
prestige,
up,
the better
guys?
prospects I can pursue.
Welcome
But if I
back to
hadn't already
another
set up the Red Storm enough for
Madden
failure, I can only play up to 3
NFL
regular season games a year, and I'm only giving myself 13 years to win it all. Because I did this
Today,
impossible
we
challenge
will be
last year on
playing
NCAA Football
My
14, and it took me
Superstar
14
mode.
seasons. So if I can't win a title in
So,
13 years, I'll be giving away a copy of College
I
Football
play for the
26 when it comes out
Giants.
to a random commenter. And either way, this video
I
won't
just
end until I
started.
get St.
I
John's a
already won a
national
Super
championship.
Bowl.
When it comes to where to
But
start with
here's
this
the
team,
thing.
it is just going to be a
I'm
struggle. It
already
says we're an
super
8
good,
overall. I
but
think
here's
it's
the
because
thing.
some of the
My
tactician
overall's
boosts
not
get us
even
up
that
to like
big
2 in
because
certain
it's
categories.
only
But either way, at the end of the year, I will be
74,
firing
I
both of these
believe.
coordinators. And for this
Correct
first
me
run
if
with the
I'm
head coach,
wrong,
I'm
but
going to
I
try out
probably am,
tactician
so.
because I feel like this is our best chance to make players a little bit better. I know I'm going to
The
get fired a lot
Superstar
during
right
this
here.
challenge because going
My
after
player.
one-star recruits is a rough
I am
place to start, but
actually
Dennis Payne is the best
okay.
quarterback
I'm
option I think we're
alright.
going to
I'm
get. And with a schedule like this, I know this first season is just going to be a disaster because I have made things as hard as possible on us. If there is one player I'm going to be interested about he develops, though, it is 6'5" freshman quarterback Bryce Frost. He has star dev, it's just he is 0 overall for every single stat. So he has a lot of progress he's going to have to make. I'm just going to focus on recruiting probably for the first 4 to 5 seasons while trying to only get fired a couple of times. I just don't think hopping into games like this are going to do us any good. Florida State is 79 overalls higher than us. But because St. John's just brought their football program back after not playing for a couple of decades, I want to use them for a few plays. I can already tell that with 0 speed, they're like impossible to move around. But will we be able to complete a pass with Bryce Frost? Okay, this is bad. I think there's going to be absolutely nothing I could do that would help us win a game. And what have I done? I have set us up for the most impossible rebuild of all time. Maybe that would have been a pick either way. We're not going to be able to catch them or anything. And I'm going to be honest, guys, if this is the score past halftime, if they're hitting 100, it's not looking too promising. By the end of the day, it finished 133-0. I'm not sure we had any yards throughout this entire matchup. And we actually had negative 51 yards. I know you've never seen stats this lopsided before. We lost almost 9 yards per carry. Now that you can see that no matter who we're facing off against, we're going to get flat out embarrassed. It'll be pretty obvious why I'm just going to focus in on recruiting. Signing one-stars isn't that difficult, but getting Dennis Payne is a pretty big deal. By the end of the season, of course, we're going to be 0-12. The worst loss actually came against Tennessee, 198-0. And when I tell you that all of our box scores and stats are just comical, they really are. The only positive we can take away from this season is I have been able to sign 31-star recruits that are going to come in for us next year. There's another 5 that are going to commit probably in the next couple of weeks. And I can only imagine that being on the hot seat, there's a chance I get fired in this first year, but we'll see. I've never been fired on this game because I always have it turned off. I was really hoping that at least some of our players would progress past being a 12 overall, past having 0 in basically every category, but that was not the case. And statistically, we have somehow gone through 5 different quarterbacks this year. Bryce Frost got injured, Xavier Jarvis got injured, David DePaul got injured, and I just realized everybody's injury was set to 0. This is going to be by far the most full that you've probably ever seen an injury report. We have so many of our players that are just out. And on the rushing side of things, nobody on this team averaged positive yards per carry. This is what the stats look like. They're all in the negatives. Then on the receiving side, we only completed 3 passes the entire season. That is it. There is a chance that we win an award, though, for the best punter because Matthew York had over 7,000 punting yards. This has got to be a Division I record. And if we look at our team stats for the entire year, we didn't score a single point. We had only 5 first downs. On the defensive side of things, we gave up almost 2,000 points, with Purdue being second behind us at only 450. And I think by now you all get the point. This conference is going to stay extremely difficult for us throughout this entire rebuild. There we are at the very bottom of it. And I honestly don't know how we're ever going to progress past only recruiting 1-star recruits. In order to go after 2 stars, 3 stars, we have to be able to raise our team prestige. But to do that, we have to win games in the toughest conference. And I don't see that happening for us. I also messed up because I skipped over the period where we could have fired these coordinators. If I can somehow win it all in 13 years, that's going to be a miracle, but that's what Rutgers needed to win it all in this. And I am not upset in the slightest that some of these players are transferring out. I don't see how any school besides maybe like NAIA Division II is going to pick them up. Since we already signed a class of 35 players, there was nothing for us to do during the transfer portal period. We're going to have the worst one in the country until we can go after 2 stars or higher. But I told you I was trying to work some miracles during recruiting, and Dennis Payne's going to start as a 67 overall quarterback for us. I did notice one weird thing, though, and that is our team prestige going up from 1 stars to 1.5 stars. We're getting closer to being able to recruit better prospects. And I have no idea how that increased. Bring it up with EA. It's something they have coded wrong, I guess. Looking at training results, though, we've seen DeMarcus Perkins go from a 12 overall to a 77. Those crazy jumps only occurred with 6 players, including Bryce Frost. The rest of them are going to stay to
You
0
going
overall
into
with like no
games,
progression
let's
at all. And I think it
go.
has to do with what stats get increased. For Asher Varner, a receiver, for example, he is 99 deep route running, but everything else is still stuck at 0, so he's not going to go up. And I am pretty surprised that we didn't get fired, but since we didn't, we're going to be able to increase something with the tactician boost, and I think we have to make our offensive line better, plus make our quarterback play better, hoping this makes a difference. I would love to see this team have more success, but if that's going to happen, we're going to have to encourage as many 0 overall players as we can to transfer. And with all those roster cuts, the best I could do was get this team up to a 44 overall. At the moment, our future lies in the hands of freshman quarterback Dennis Payne. It seems like his accuracy can't get that much higher. And I almost want to redshirt as many of the freshmen that we brought in as I can, since I know this season's going to be just as bad as last year. It's not like we're going to be able to win a game with them. Now, that would only leave us with so many players, so I'm not sure if it's going to work, but that's what I'm trying. And knowing that we're not going to have much success this season, I'm just going to sim up to the game where we play one of the worst teams in the country. During that time, of course, I did some more recruiting. I think by now we've signed almost 20 more one-star prospects that are going to help us out. But unfortunately, our on-the-field performance has not changed up much from last season. We're still struggling a lot. Georgia just beat us 149-0. And I know for a fact that we do not stand a chance at winning a game in the toughest conference yet, but we might be able to against UMass. If anything, I would just like to score our first points in this rebuild against them. But you know what? Here's the thing. With all the redshirting I did, that might not happen until next season. If we could have crossed their side of the 50 at least once in this game, maybe then there would have been a bit of hope. But we still lost pretty badly. I am happy that we finally had some positive yards of total offense, though, and that we didn't give up more than 100. It might not be the type of progress that you're expecting to see out of the football team, but we are making some. And maybe as we sim to the end of the season, we'll end up scoring in one of these games. It turns out, though, that was not going to happen for us. We ended up losing all these other games by a lot. And it makes sense why St. John's has made the decision to fire me, so it says my contract is ending in 5 weeks. I feel like there should be more information than it just saying you've been fired, but I cannot manage the staff since I'm being let go. I can't get rid of the coordinators. And I think it's going to stop me from recruiting as well. If I look at the conference standings, 6-6 Georgia was near the top. That's what happens when you have this many top teams battling it out. And you know what? I'm proud of Bryce Frost for staying healthy all season. He's not going to be our quarterback next year, especially since he's never thrown for a touchdown. But he was consistently out there on the field so other players wouldn't burn their red shirt, and the same is true for Keontae Tyson. We even used him as our number 2 wide receiver right behind Javion Foreman. He still has a year left. I am kind of curious about how many yards we punted for. This is less than last year. It's just a shame that we're still scoring 0 points per game, and defensively, we also gave up less than last year. I guess whenever you get fired, it does let you see your recruiting stuff still. We have a full class of 35 players. I don't think any of them are going to decommit since they're just thankful to have an opportunity. But with my contract ending in a few weeks, I do need to accept another job offer so I can get back onto St. John's. I just don't understand why I would be able to accept one for USF. After winning 0 games in the 2 years of my coaching career, I should at least be forced to be a coordinator. And I think this time around, instead of being a tactician, I want to go down the motivator one. Now that we're back on St. John's, what's interesting is we can actually encourage players to transfer during this transfer portal period. But from the looks of it, anybody that was supposed to be an athlete has already been assigned to a specific position. I feel like things are just getting a little bit bugged out, but because I encouraged so many of the 0 overall players to transfer, we're only losing 1 senior. Keontae Tyson actually wants to transfer, but he then decided to stay. That was some good news for us, and our class finished ranked above Kent State's because they signed 21 stars. We had more than them. And I just realized David DePaul, the 0 overall quarterback I convinced to transfer out of our school, has committed to Kent State. They just got extremely unlucky. I am able to move around the athletes' positions from this screen, and Josh Butler is going to come in as a 70 overall QB. I don't think I really talked about him, but he has 96 throw power and some pretty impressive abilities for being a 1-star prospect. And I'm going to have a tough decision on whether or not I should start him or Dennis Payne, who got up to a 73 during training results. We actually saw some pretty large jumps from some of these players. I mean, we're going to be up to a 66 overall team. And becoming a motivator was the best thing I think I could have ever done because we've already leveled up to a level 10 off of the training results, and we have 95 coach points to spend. Moving forward, because I unlocked Tier 3, put in work for all of these positions, they should get an off-season training boost. And at the end of this next year, I will finally get rid of these 2 coordinators. This is the first time I've ever had any bit of hope going into a season. I even made sure to recruit a kicker and a punter, so we might be able to score some points this year. And if I